गुड मॉर्निंग सभी को। मैं डॉक्टर शिवाजी कुमार and today I will take lecture on the perspectives of autism in view of disabilities. Today is the March 21st, 2025 and my session is 12:45 p.m. to 1:45 p.m. So let me introduce myself. This is Dr. Shivajee Kumar that we have done that last 13 years we working as assistant professor and born on November 20, 1974 in the small village Darbhanga districts, and now we're working for the person with disability. I have done my background was science, then I have joined as a bachelor degree course in mental retardation, then done master in psychology, specialization of clinical psychology, then have done B.Ed also, special education, and M.Ed too, and then later on we have done MBA, LLB, and many post postgraduate certificate course, diploma in sports event management and sports psychology. So, and I also have served as a state commission for person with disability, government of Bihar. So this was my last 29 years. I have been working as a professional. My RCI number is A01804. So my totally dedicated to educational research, advocacy, continue inspire and drive positive changes in field of the psychology and special education. So today there is a CRE topics. Bridging the gap of psychological intervention and rehabilitation strategy for the autism spectrum disorder. So that is our autism spectrum disorder presents unique challenges that require comprehensive psychological intervention and rehabilitation strategy. Despite of significant advancement, gaps remain in accessibility, inclusivity, and effectiveness of the therapy therapies. These topics explore the innovative psychological approaches, evidence-based intervention, and holistic rehabilitation method aim at enhancing the quality of life for individuals with ASD. By integrating research, technology, and community supports, we can bridge these gaps and create more inclusive and supportive environment for individual on the spectrum. So let us discuss about the introduction to autism spectrum is a disability. As we know, autism spectrum disorder (ASD) is a neurodevelopmental condition affecting the communication, behavior, and social interaction. It's already defined as the Section 2 of RPWD Act. It varies in severity ranging from the mild to profound disability. So that is a medical perspective modes like medical mode views that autism is a disorder needs treatment and rehabilitation. In the social model considers autism as a difference rather than the deficit, emphasizing the inclusion and accessibility. Other need for the shift from the creative approach to an accommodative approach in society. So legal policies and for the Autism in India, Rights for Person with Disability Act, as we know, RPWD Act 2016 includes autism as a recognized disability. National Trust Act 99 supports person with autism through the guardianship and welfare schemes. Then the inclusive education policy under the NEP 2020 promotes education accessibility. Psychological perspectives on the autism, cognitive and behavior challenges, including the restricted interest and sensory sensitivities, importance of applied behavior analysis, and the cognitive behavior therapy, as you already know how its antecedent behavior consequences works on that, and cognitive behavior realization of what is happening is not acceptable in the society. Role of special education and individualized education plan IEP is the academic success, technology, and innovations for autism, as we know, augmentative and alternative communication ASC devices for the non-verbal individuals, as we know, the then when we there are verbal and non-verbal communication, and while we not speak, and there is our gestures, that our various position, various acts that meaning to child to understand what we want to communicate. Mobile apps and AI-driven assistive technology improve improving social and learning skills. Already, I have wrote on the book, so I will show you what we have done on this, the technology, social and learning skills. Virtual reality, as we know, so the role of the virtual reality therapy for the behavior and sensory augment- augmentation. So autism, we can rehabilitate, we can make productive citizen through the sports and rehabilitation. A Special Olympics and Indian Sports Federation of Autism enhancing cognitive and motor skills, structured physical activities promoting the social integration and self-confidence. Also, we know that importance of trained professional in adaptive physical education. Then we have the how to communication and social inclusion need for autism friendly public spaces and workplace. Then another we have importance of parental training and peer sensitization programs, role of NGO and government bodies in the advocacy and policy implementation. What is the future plan and recommendation? We have to be the strong government policy and financial assistance for the autism individuals. Next, expansion of the employment opportunity and the skill development program. We should more research on genetic, environment, and culture factor affecting the autism in India that we have to study. So now we have to tell more about what we have wrote on book Autism Spectrum Disorder, Swekarika and Samadhan. This is my 25th book. So chapter 1 we have introduced about what is the autism spectrum disorder, as we know neurodevelopmental disorder that causes differences in the communication, social behavior and interest. So spectrum is that the symptoms and effects vary from the person to person. It remains present throughout the life and it's linked to the brain development, neurological developmental disorder. Another is what are the symptoms and characteristics and associate with ASD. So there is a difficulties in communication and social relationship. Another is a limited And repetitive behavior, as we know, sensory sensitivities and educational challenges are there. And we know the meaning of a spectrum, as we know, various level of, from mild to severe causes, and then need for the special care and support at every stage. That is the importance of early diagnosis. The sooner the diagnosis, the more effective intervention can be. Then the therapist, such as the speech therapy, behavior therapy, and sensory therapy, can be started earlier. So let us we start in the book our introduction. The key point about the spectrum means the symptoms vary from the person to person, and autism spectrum disorder is a neurodevelopmental disorder. It affects social interaction, communication, and behavior. Another symptoms and characteristic of ASD: difficulties in communication and social relationship. These are limited and repetitive behaviors, sensory and sensitivity, and educational challenges. That's another importance of a spectrum disorder is symptoms vary from mild to severe. It is also the special care and supports it's the required at the every stage. We need of always a special care and supports required in every stage. Another is the the importance of the early diagnosis. Early diagnosis makes effective intervention possibility, and then the role of speech therapy, behavior therapy, and sensory therapy. As we know, these therapies are very important and effective for that's education, rehabilitation, and make productive citizen. That we have also given the example how the story of the person with ASD and how it has affected this real story, and the Indian perspective. There's a lack of awareness about ASD in India, lack of diagnostic and medical services in the rural area. Inclusive, as we know, there are 80% person with disability are staying in the rural area, so we have to strengthen the facilities in the rural area also. Inclusive education, and then role of the specialist schools also is a very and the supports and awareness campaign by the non-governmental organization. Chapter 2 we speaks about identification and different age groups, teething symptoms in the babies, young children. Teething symptoms in babies, young children means lack of eye contact, not responding the name, respective behavior, hand waves and spinning, limited interest and play pattern. So, an identification of ASD in the school-going children, there is a difficulty in social interaction, unusual use of language, restricted and repetitive behavior, sensitivity and to sound, light, and touch. Another characteristic of, of ASD, adolescence and adulthood, there is a difficulty to understanding social causes, problem expressing feelings, career and educating barriers. Differences in symptoms mean that men and women means male and female. The male is a very obvious social difficulties, limited behavior pattern. Women social adaptability, tendency to hide the symptom. Chapter T we spoke about the diagnostic process, initial screening role, specialist, rural versus urban challenges, and cause the studies. As we know, there is a identification, symptoms, medical evaluation, and behavior testing also. Initial screening using tools like MCHART, you already know, ISAC and CAPS. Children Autism Research Scale. Role of a specialist, neurologist, psychologist, speech therapist, and a special educator. So another chapter 4 we speaks about the causes and risk factor, that is genetic influences, how it affects. Then we have the environmental impact, myths, myths related to ASD, and differences between ASD and other developmental disorder like ADHD, then the uh, different intellectual disability, and then BCD, motor skill difficulties. So, in short, the causes of ASD are the combination of genetic, environmental, and other factor too. Chapter 5 we are speaking about the challenges and misconceptions, social stigma and barrier education myths about the ASD, then the daily challenges, sensory sensitivity, communication barrier, behavior problems, solution and progress, awareness program, special education support groups also. So chapter 6 we have spoken about the role of the parent and family in ASD management. As we know, the parents plays vital and very important role develop and care the child with autism spectrum disorder with the right awareness, support, and availability of resources. A child's life can be improved. Helpful tips for parents is the gather information, read about ASD, get advice from experts, encourage communication, create a structure routine, get group supports. Another, the role of siblings. Help them to understand that ASD build a positive relationship, contribution of the extended family, involvement of grandparents and relatives. Another is a parental self-care. Is a pay attention to the health, reset and recreation, and that last conclusion, the parent and family supports awareness and positive attitude. That's extremely important in ASD management. Chapter 7, we spoke about the mental health and the well-being. So it's already we know the impact of mental health on the whole life, importance, self-acceptance, self-control, and emotional balance. Main things that we have to find out the causes and solution of the stress and anxiety, symptoms and prevention of the depression, self-care, mindfulness techniques, the role, positive thinking, and social supports. So, prioritize, prioritize priorities, mental health, and balance of the life. Chapters that add we speak about therapies and intervention, effective strategy for ASD. As we know, behavior therapy, applied behavior therapy, behavior modification through the positive reinforcement, positive behavior PSB, as we know, techniques that understand the control behavior, speech therapy, then the personal therapy, then the that alternative therapies. So these are the so chapter 9 we speak about the skill development capacity building. Children with ASD have the unique ability and talent which can enhance, encourage, increase their the confidence and self-reliance. So that creative skills speaks arts, painting, sculpturing, self-expression, mental health, music, sports. Then the vocational training is the identification of interest and ability. Then the specialized training on techniques, giving responsibility for the daily task, becoming self-sufficient, social and communication skills, teaching greetings and etiquette to the improve communication, then self-reliance and economic independence. Very, very needed to develop a sense of responsibility by participating in a small house task. In chapter 10, we spoke about the social interaction communication strategy. Individuals with the autism spectrum disorder have difficulties in socializing and communicating effectively. Their confidence and social inclusion can be improved by adopting the right strategy. Pala is effective communication techniques. Another is a social challenge in India. Strategy for working in the group, tips dealing with difficult situations. So, chapter 11, we have the legal rights and government supports in India for person with ASD. Ensure that the equal opportunity in education, employment, and health services. So that's we have the right of Person with Disability Act, government schemes and benefits supporting groups, organization for the families. Also in chapter 12, so chapter 12, speak about the life skill for ASD like self-care and household responsibility. Then the practical tips, teaching life skills. Then we have practical training, use of picture and symbols, regularity and patience from easy to difficult, preparing for independence, living and adulthood. Chapter 13, we speaks about the employment and economic self-security for the adults with ASD. So what we have to do, all is spoken about the employment training program and Indian initiatives, national mental health programs, Swablamban schemes, special training centers, NGO and self-help groups. So strategy is to promote economic self-reliance, then inclusive workplace tips for the employers. Chapter 14, we speaks about increasing awareness about the ASD. So that awareness in schools, teaching workplace, outreach program, online platform, sensitive among teacher, then the role of media in breaking stereotype, news and stories, documentation and television programs, social media campaign. So technology and innovation are making education, communication, and care effective and accessible for the individual with ASD. So we have apps and tools already we have spoken. So social skills, behavior management, learning apps, sensory and wearable device, advancement assessing technologies, sensory tools, AI based apps. So telehealth and online resources, remote counseling, online therapy, educational resources, and communication and support groups also. So in the chapter 16, we spoke about the families needs the rights, information, resource, and support to the help better care and their children. So that the major area to organization, online communication, and local support group. And then we have various autism spectrum India, National Autism Center, Facebook groups, and Reddit for forums, local voluntary organizations. We have the useful books, website, and apps. So, in the chapter 17, we spoke about adulthood and aging planning, state planning, guardianship, and long-term care resources for the aging parents. So the planning for adulthood is education and skill development, employment, independent, old age planning, long-term care, so resources for the aging parents. So there's a parent support group. So empower a person with autism through the sports, arts, and cultural activities. Benefits of sports, as we know, art, music therapy is very special. These people have in very special that music and arts and the sports also. They are doing wonderful and then participating in cultural activities also. So sports arts culture empowering platform for the ASD individual, helping them to become self-reliant and active part of the society. So this is the we thanks you have already gone through my these topics, and we spoken about the various uh, way for the um, that's we education, identification, education, rehabilitation, then therapeutic boards, and that's skill development and full participation, protection of their rights, and make the productive citizen. Thank you very much for listening patiently my this lecture.